In those unforgettable times, when every dawn brought pristine warmth and light, little Eric Garner lived in a world of simple joy and quiet confidence. His childhood on Staten Island seemed like a fairy tale, where every morning began with a gracious awakening. The streets, paved with soft morning light, seemed like living canvases on which nature painted in delicate strokes, the slight rustle of leaves, the glimmer of sun through the trees, the quiet voice of the wind. In these small but precious moments, he was learning about the world around him, savoring every sound and smell, every touch of the warm wind. Garner's family was his fortress, a place where love and care were passed from generation to generation. In a home filled with the voices of his parents and the laughter of his siblings, Eric learned to dream, to believe, and to strive for a better future. In the narrow streets, where time flowed slowly, each neighbor was like a member of a large, friendly family, and even passers-by smiled at each other, sharing moments of joy. Those first years, a time of carefree fun, games at local playgrounds, friendly meetings and warm hugs, left a rainbow trace in Eric's soul, filling him with dreams of a future free from troubles and evil. Each of these days was a celebration of life, the joyful voices of the children against the backdrop of the bustling cityscape created a sense that even the simplest moments could be the beginning of great destinies. As Eric excitedly participated in the games on the playground, his eyes sparkled with hope and every smile with the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The material hardships and modesty of home were not diminished in this magical world, where faith, dreams, and sincerity were paramount. Here on Staten Island, in an atmosphere of mutual understanding and support, an inner strength was being born that would later be severely tested by fate. These serene and light-filled days formed a kaleidoscope of memories, where every little thing, from the sound of falling leaves to the flutter of morning dew, reminded us of how important every minute of life is. They taught us to appreciate the moments when innocence and pure faith in goodness are not yet tainted by life's pain. May the memory of these days live on in our hearts, reminding us that even in the simplest of joys lies the immense power of the dreams that once lit the light in little Eric Garner's soul. But as often happens, life inexorably throws up trials even on days when the whole world seems to breathe peace and joy. The morning came, and it enveloped Staten Island in a thick blanket of grayness. The sky was heavy, and the air was filled with a cold, almost ineffable melancholy. On the deserted platform, where stories and farewells usually met, there was silence, interrupted only by the sound of falling raindrops. In this bleak morning landscape, young Eric Garner, the epitome of hope, paced alone, full of understatement and a slightly unsettling sense of foreboding. Every second of the day suddenly took on a special meaning. The quiet clatter of raindrops, reflections in the dim light, and the barely perceptible echo of city noises became an ominous backdrop that foreshadowed the inevitability of disaster. Eric's gaze, previously full of childlike directness, now became a mirror of his inner struggle, a quiet sadness, anxiety, and self-satisfaction that reminded him that even the brightest dreams could be shattered in one fateful moment. In those moments when the world seemed to hold its breath, Eric's every movement became weighty and dramatic, conveying the inevitability of fate, the inexpressible heaviness of the atmosphere, augmented by the barely audible but growing musical pulse, created the feeling that time stood still on the threshold of irreparable loss. This moment is forever imprinted as a boundary between childhood dreams and cruel reality, when the fragility of life confronts the cruelty of the world around us. May this fateful day be remembered as a warning of how quickly the course of fate can change, when even the quietest hope turns to ruthless darkness. After the fateful morning came a time when the pain of loss engulfed the entire city. In its rainy streets, where every drop became a symbol of the past tragedy, people came together to remember Eric Garner. Through the grayness and cold of the wet sidewalk, the flickering candlelight on the walls of the houses represented not only memory, but also a collective desire to preserve the hypnotic honesty of the grief experienced. Each lit candle, each silent sigh of passers-by, and each silent gathering became a unified consonance of grief and protest against the fate that had so cruelly cut short the life of a young man. In these moments, silence spoke louder than words. Every photograph of Eric's smile, every name engraved on the simple memorial slabs became a silent call that life should not fade into the darkness of oblivion. People, united by a common pain, found courage in a shared silent protest, trying through tears to find meaning and strength for change. Every rustle of rain, every breeze, the play of light and shadow on the walls, all became a reflection of the deep inner trauma experienced by everyone whose hearts responded to the loud call of loss. This collective grief, like a tireless river of remembrance, washes away the barriers of indifference and prejudice, forcing everyone to reflect on the cost of human life and the need for change. Let every spark of light, shining through the gloom of a rainy evening, remind us that loss is never without a trace, and that, in unity, lies the strength to overcome the most overwhelming challenges. Eric Garner's legacy will never allow us to forget how fragile the line is between hope and tragedy, between dreams and reality. His tragic fate became a powerful symbol not only of loss, but also of a collective awakening, one that stirred the determination in people's hearts to strive for true equality and dignity. As the first light of a new day breaks, and darkness recedes before a rising hope, residents of Staten Island and beyond come together to honor his life and reflect in silence on what his memory means. Quiet gatherings, gentle memorials, and respectful moments by candlelight have become symbols of unity, a reminder that remembrance is not only about the past, but also about a shared human promise. Each photograph, each softly spoken word, each still face by his memorial carries a story of dignity and resilience. Here, in the act of remembering, rises a voice that cannot be erased, one that speaks not of protest, but of presence, of a man whose name lives on as part of a shared conscience. These moments of quiet reflection become a beacon for all who believe that compassion must endure, and that every life holds meaning. In every silent step, in every steady gaze, in every whispered hope, lives the belief that even through immense loss, light can rise again. Let the memory of Eric Garner remain a spark that inspires and unites all of us who wish for a world where humanity is met with understanding, and where remembrance becomes a bridge between sorrow and resolve.